Good morning. Welcome to the program. Hey, Kari.
Hey, Tom.
Great to be with you again. It's a real privilege and a blessing to be able to do a weekly program with you, my wonderful wife.
And let me just say, it's not a chore to be with you.
It's an
I'm very
incentive.
incentivized by this time.
In fact, those are our themes. We're going to finish off our conversation about chores, linking it to virtues, and we're going to talk about the role of incentives in a well-functioning, fruitful Christian home. Welcome to the Curran Crew podcast. I think one of the reasons why a chore feels like a chore is because we don't pray enough. So we're going to begin this program with a prayer so that it's not a chore, either to do or to listen to. That, in fact, it's a blessing. In fact, there it is. There's an incentive to pray. Our incentive to pray is that the program itself is a blessing. Let's turn to the Lord in prayer. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Loving God, I thank you for the gift of life. I thank you for the gift of family. And I thank you, Lord, for all the moms and dads listening, and the grandmas and grandpas, and all those who have family, who love family, who want families to flourish in accord with our faith. And so, Lord, I pray a blessing upon this program, that it would be useful to you, Lord, that it would be a blessing in the lives of many. Please, Lord, especially bless those who are discouraged, and in particular, who are struggling with the reality of chores in their own family lives. Lord, give us the grace to speak well for your glory. We make this prayer in Jesus' holy name. Amen.
Amen.
In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Kari, we are here to talk about chores and incentives. So why don't you tee up, Kari, where we're at?
I want to just say that we finished part of the chores from last time, but we really didn't get into how you set up chores for kids to be successful. But within that, one of those points is using rewards or some kind of system to reward your children. So basically it's ways to do chores, and it's kind of stop the whole show of home life and say, where are the areas that need to be addressed, where kids can pitch in, and have that conversation with those kids.
Okay, so the first step is, if you're going to establish a system of chores in the home, let's identify the key areas where the actual home needs some help.
Yes, Tom.
Give me some examples.
Unload the dishwasher, fold the socks, vacuum the stair steps, sweep the front porch. So they're just areas that need to be addressed either daily or twice a week is how we break it up. And then we assign those kids an area that fits their personality and their likes. But also we require that everyone does each area of the system throughout the course of a year.
So let's break open both of those points. And
Thanks, Tom.
We touched upon this just a little bit last time, but let's break it open a little bit more. So when you say, let the personality of the child be associated with a chore, what are some instances in our home?
So what I mean is we said we do daily chores that kids are assigned for a month, and then we have weekend chores. And weekend chores are those bigger, more involved chores that require an hour and a half to 2 hours. And we just say Saturday morning you have 2 hours of chores. And during the week, the other areas of chores last 15 minutes, not more than 20, because kids just aren't able to stay with it, and I'm not able to manage them. On Saturday morning, it requires both Tom and I to help manage chores, and these are things that we've drawn up as parents, as the parents of the home. You see areas that need to be attended to in a more serious way on the weekend. So it could be raking leaves, weeding, it could be fixing the fence, it could be cleaning out the garage, it could be cleaning out the van. We all are required to do a more intensive cleaning of our bedroom, where they have to clear off all their shelves, wipe and dust. They have to clean out their drawers, so make sure there's no kids can just stuff like 30 shirts in one drawer. So I really require at least once a month, not every week, but once a month, we pull open the drawers and make sure there's just not extra clothes being collected in the back of the closet. They pull out stuff from under their bed. They vacuum their whole room. So this is a teaching chore. This is more of a chore for me and Dad on Saturday than actually for the kids, because again, it's going to require walking with them and helping them, because most kids will not naturally be thorough, and we just have to help them. And then as time goes on, it gets easier. It really does. But initially, it takes time, even to set up the routine. In this, there's a strategy for structure where we say Saturday morning are chores, and we start at 9 and we want to finish by 11. We never finish by 11. It always goes, everyone gets hungry around noon. We break out the sandwiches. By 1 o'clock, we're back on it. And then there's this huge incentive to go to maybe Target or to go. I don't like shopping on the weekends, but I might take the kids out to maybe the Halloween store now that it's Halloween. Or we might go to see an afternoon movie that costs $2 at the $2 theater. But there's some kind of incentive. It's a family outing that they are all geared up and trying to head towards, because you have to motivate 9 kids or however many kids for 2 hours to be engaged in kind of complicated, more detailed cleaning. And you need lots of incentives. We don't pay our kids anything for Saturday chores unless it's like, I'm going to pay you $10 to clean out the garage with your sibling because it's just we have a 3-car garage. It's just over above big job. But typically Saturdays, everyone pitches in. It's part of being part of the family. It's this great work ritual where everyone knows it's Saturday chores. And there's this big groan. And then we line up the chores and we start passing them out in the morning. And they pick their chores and everyone is doing it. Everyone is involved. The music's playing. No one's up in their room hiding or in the bathroom painting their nails or outside having a tea party, although that's happened. But it is the sense of Saturday morning is chores.
So I'm going to try to pick out some of the let's call them like principles that parents can draw on for themselves. So number one was establish a beginning time. Don't float. That's one of the things I think that has brought the most frustration to us is a floating start time.
Yes, and Tom, that means like use structure. So you get something that they're working towards and everyone's starting at the same time. That's even with dinner chores. In the evening, I just make the announcement. After dinner, this is what your job is. And everyone has their job. They all know it. Or when they come home from school, some kids are doing homework. Some kids are out in the backyard playing ball. A couple of kids are up in their room reading a book and visiting. And I will just say in an hour, we are doing chores. 4 o'clock, we are doing our zones. And then I give them a countdown. They need time. They don't keep track of time like parents. So I say in a half hour. Then I give them a 5-minute, hey, you guys, in 5 minutes, we are going to start our zones. And you have 10 minutes. I say 12 minutes. We're going to work for 12 minutes. And then we're going to be done. Everyone got this. And they all know what their zone is because I've gone around and told them all because I'm bothered by the clutter. And this is what mom does.
Well, Kari, I don't think that, again, most parents are not thinking like this. They're not thinking, because what can happen is, in my humble opinion, that a lot of parents will just intervene. It's like, oh, that's right, it's time to do chores. And then over the wall comes the command, time to do chores. And it's kind of like,
that doesn't work.
It doesn't work. It's setting the kids up for failure.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you've got a battle on your hands. So you want to prepare the way.
Yes.
And so prepare the way by giving them, it's not tomorrow morning we're going to do chores. It's no, guys, in an hour or
we're going
after
to do our
the show is over. So you're giving them, you're doing what's called remote preparation and immediate preparation and proximate preparation. Those are the 3 kinds of preparation in our tradition.
Is this in theology
it
again?
Is.
Okay,
It is.
this is ridiculous. You
It's
have
great. I love
something
this.
theological
No,
for
it's
everything.
beautiful. You see, theology takes flesh here. So, no, this kind of preparation is what? You're helping to
fantastic.
prepare in their kids, in their minds. So, in
Your
fact,
conscience,
even
yes.
for prayer, for prayer, you want to prepare for prayer by getting into that state that you want to be in during prayer, in advance of prayer.
Absolutely.
So
That makes all the difference, Tom.
otherwise, you're just like, it's an intervention, and you want to avoid an intervention mentality.
Proactive versus reactive.
And they get them
yes.
in there. They get them in their minds. Okay, that's right. When this show is over, in 5 more minutes, the show's over. Okay, now we're going to be turning this off, and now we're going to be starting and doing our chores. It doesn't guarantee a great attitude,
No.
but at least it lessens the sense of resistance
Yes.
because you've teed it up.
It lessens the resistance, and it also allows our best energies as parents to be put towards accompaniment.
Second thing is the importance of being on the same page. That a husband and a wife, a mom and a dad are working together. I know that an area of frustration in our marriage is that I'm not always, I'm sometimes on the side of the kids where I'm getting dragged into your will to do Saturday chores. And I've got the greatest of excuses. I'm really tired. I've worked hard all week long. You have no idea.
You have a really great theological
Oh, yeah. And so I need the
article you have to
leisure.
read, yeah.
I'm really involved in this beautiful book. Let's just start a little bit later. And so you really need to have a husband and a wife that are on the same page, because when I'm alongside you with the same positive energy, when I'm standing next to you visibly or attitudinally, that makes so much difference for the kids, because the kids on the one hand know, oh, I see a unified front. It's not like, oh, dad's kind of on our side. We can kind of drag him along over to here, or we don't have to move because dad isn't moving along so much as well. So having a mom and a dad be on the same page with the same positive attitude and positive energy makes a huge difference.
Tom, and the exponential amount of output that happens when you get more people, that cell becomes stronger, that group power becomes more powerful, and so much more can get done in that time when dad and mom are together, the kids are.
And so one of the things that we do,
like a scientific term for this or theological term, but there is power in numbers.
So great leadership. When my brother and I were living in an intentional Christian household, it was a household for men. It was run by the Catholic Church, and we were single men. One of the things that George, my older brother, would say is have a best helper. And the best helper is the person who's among the followers or on the team who, when the leader says, who can help? Pick me. I'm here. Yes, I'm on. And so you want to find somebody on the other side who is the best helper, who shows and displays the model attitude, the model response. So one of the things that we'll do is we expect more from our older kids. And we'll say to them, I need you to have a good attitude. I need you to be the person who is going to model the attitude and the behavior. You're going to be quick to jump in, and you're going to do it with a positive attitude. And we'll pull them aside and say, look, your attitude is catchy. Your attitude is going to impact others. You're going to influence others. So we want you to be on the positive side here.
So if you really want to go to that dance tonight, if you really want to go get that homecoming dress, if you really want time on that iPhone, you're going to be the best helper. And we incentivize them always, but not necessarily with things. Sometimes it's just with things that they enjoy, like time together with us, time together with friends, and we'll get into that.
Which brings up a very important value for parenting, which is associate with the good that you have in your mind that they don't associate as a good, namely doing a chore. Associate that with the good that they have in their mind.
Because most kids are not eager to be doing chores. I mean, they'll do it and they'll feel great when they're done, but in the process of getting them to do it, to start it, to stay with it, they just need some other ways until they get to that self-mastery, until they get to that self-donation.
St. Augustine talks all about this. He says that the one who does what is right because it is commanded is a slave. The one who does what is right because it is good is free. Now, who would have thought that St. Augustine was actually a brilliant teacher to parents about principles of how to shepherd kids into the fullness of freedom. And you think about that, and you say, okay, let me see one more time. The one who does what is right because it's commanded is a slave. Welcome to Saturday chores. Welcome sometimes to daily chores. They're only doing what is right, which is being responsible for sharing in the good of keeping a home in order, et cetera, et cetera. If they're only doing it because it's commanded, they're actually a slave. And this is our job, is to be a Moses, not a Pharaoh. The Moses is what? He's the one who shepherds God's people from slavery to freedom. And that's our job. We want our kids to do what is right because it's good. And that's going to be freeing them rather than enslaving them. And that ties to incentives. How does it do that? Very simply, Kari, you talked about a variety of incentives that would be goods for our kids. Doing the chores isn't a good for our kids. They're not enjoying it. They don't want to do it. They resist it, etc. What is the good? Go to the movie, time on the iPhone, play date, go visit their friend, or whatever that. When we can connect that to the accomplishment of the good, when we associate that to the completion of the chore, we're actually giving a meaning to the chore and the action of doing that chore that they find life-giving. So there it is. We're actually moving them from slavery to freedom in the actual doing of the chore itself.
That's awesome, Tom. I feel like if you can give them incentives to help them, it just makes everybody feel like they're on the same page trying to go for that win-win. They all want in, they want to be a part of it, and we want to, as much as possible, lessen the sense of drudgery and pain and difficulty, but not difficulty in the fact that we need to teach self-giving, but difficulty in the fact that often in chore time, or in Saturday chores particularly, it can go wrong. It can go sideways.
And you should expect it. You should expect, I'm serious. Well, kids are not waking up on Saturday morning. It's their day off. Here it is the weekend. And here's what we're saying. All right, kids, get up. Come on, hurry up. Because now you're going to work for 2 hours.
And Tom, I think you mentioned something earlier. It's so great for us as parents to say, hey, on Wednesday night, hey, I'm making up a chore list. And this is so helpful for me. I can just dump jobs on that chore list. Like I'm like, oh, I need to get to this closet. Oh, I really need to get the van cleaned out. Oh, I really want to get all the Halloween decorations brought up or put away. And I can just start making my list of kids that I know have the aptitude to do those different activities. That frees up parents to spend more time on dates. We are so busy in our home. We need their help. They are a vital part of our home running, functioning smoothly. And that might not be the situation in all families, but I'm telling you, if moms can clear off some of that pressure and workload to their kids and delegate that, it frees that mom up to maybe exercise or maybe make a better meal or make dinners. Or, I mean, there's so many things a mom and dad can do to create a home life that is powerful, and to bring the kids in and have them help in that. It's just vital.
It's virtuous. It's freeing, and it makes our kids happy. And we're saying how the virtue of industry is one of those life-giving virtues that are going to help set our kids free. Well, and they say, what do they say about virtue? Virtue is its own reward. And the answer is virtue is its own reward when it's fully in blossom. Before virtue is fully in blossom, it's not experienced purely as a reward. You remember the 3 characteristics of virtue? It's easy, it's prompt, and it's joyful. So
it has to have all those.
That's right. So you know that
a long ways
you
to go.
know that the virtue, which is that behavior that displays human excellence, when it's mature, when it really exists in someone, you do it easily rather than with difficulty. You do it quickly rather than with resistance. You do it joyfully rather than as drudgery.
And those are all 3 areas that you face when your child doesn't want to do the chore.
Yep.
It's difficult. They're not eager to do it. They
resist it. It's slow and sluggish.
They have a bad attitude. Oh, why do I have to do it?
Yep.
I did it last time. It's his turn.
So they're on the path.
Yeah.
They're on the path to virtue. It is, right? They're on the path to virtue, and they've got to make that decision. So associating it with an incentive is a very powerful thing to do.
Hey, one thing that helps with that, Tom, as far as doing it promptly, is sometimes you can time your child's performance or your grandchild's performance, like unload the dishwasher, you have 10 minutes. And the reason I employ that is I will have a child drag out a chore for a half hour to an hour if I don't stand there and expect some kind of consequence. It could be positive. It could be negative. So I set the timer for 10 minutes and say, okay, this is the 3rd time I've asked this child to unload the dishwasher. I set the timer on the microwave and say, you have 10 minutes. Set the timer. If it's not done in 10 minutes, then you are going to lose your show, or you're going to lose something immediate.
Yeah, I'm going to take you to the birthday party a half an hour late. No, you do that. It's very interesting.
Yes, I do. Yeah. I'm just talking. Yes, I do. I'll talk about that. But then the other thing is, if they do it well, then you can incentivize them in a positive way, a positive consequence. Hey, you finish this in 10 minutes, and then I'm going to get down that really special coloring book, or I'm going to. Now, I don't want to complicate chores. I don't want to always have to come up with all these incentives and rewards and punishment. Some of these are just built into our system, where I will say to the kids, okay, it's now 4 o'clock. We are doing our zones. Everyone up. Let's go. And I will sit there and count to 10. I literally will impose a time so it's prompt. And I say, you have 12 minutes. If your job isn't done in 12 minutes, you're going to get another job. Or if your job isn't done in 20 minutes, you're going to lose the show tonight. You will miss out. As long as it takes you to finish, that's how many minutes you'll miss. And it has to be simple.
Two things, Kari, that you've always brought out to me is, number one, don't get into a battle. Don't get baited into a battle regarding the beginning of a chore. Because I think sometimes we will do that because we want to go off and do our own chore, or we want to go off and get something else done. But one of the things that we've learned is that in certain instances, when everyone's involved in doing chores, my job or your job or our job is actually to not do a chore, but to walk around and cheerlead, lead, guide, prompt, poke, prod,
redirect. Yes, all
redirect.
that good stuff.
But our job is to help our kids be successful in getting their chores done.
And that's why I say let's just do it for 20 minutes or 12 minutes, because I know I need to get on to dinner. I need to get on to taking kids to sports. I need to get on to helping that child with homework. So I am in for that 20 minutes. I say, hey guys, let's not waste mom's time. Let's not waste your time. Let's be done with this. Let's get this done quickly. And I think that in itself is an incentive for me, maybe not for them, but there's nothing more frustrating for me on a Saturday morning when chores drag out to 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And I feel like I've lost some of our best time as, working on show notes or working with a child in some area or going and doing some kind of activity because we've dragged that out. And no one likes that. So that's, as a parents, we are walking with them. We are keeping those guidelines tight or timelines tight, but we're not berating them. We're not shaming them. We're not nagging them. It's a time to cheerlead them on.
Right. And this is where the incentive comes in. Let the incentive do the work
Yes,
for you.
not
and the
me.
incentive can be a reward or a punishment, right? Another word for incentive is a consequence. So it's not about bribing. It's about letting them know, look, there's a motive that you have here. There's a motivation you have here. And one of the ways, again, I mentioned there were two things. The second thing that you did in terms of teaching me about incentives is that you have to keep it near in time. You can't say, next month you're not going to, or
That's right,
even
Tom.
next week you're not going to.
So our daughter wants to go to a junior high dance, the first junior high dance of the school year. And I said 2 weeks ago, well, you're just lost 20 minutes on your dance. I don't care. I don't want to go. I said, oh, well, we'll see. And I think in the back of my mind, we'll see what comes up next week when that dance gets closer. So sure enough, she dumped out bins in my closet, reorganized my room, and did a ton of hard-earned work that I didn't even ask her to do. She just did it all on her own because she knows that dance is now tonight and she wants to go, but she had lost the dance. So now she's working her way out of debt.
Right. Well, it's her
earning it
penance.
back.
It's a penance. Well, Kari, and you know what? I talked to her.
Oh, you
So
did.
You didn't know this.
I
So,
did not know that you
this is our
stopped the
rebel.
show and said,
So
let's have a conversation.
I had talked with her. I think I was driving her back from a soccer practice. And I said to her, I talked to her about the dance. And she's like, well, I don't get to go to the dance. And she was really disappointed. And I said, you know what? Surprise mom. Don't draw attention to it. Don't tell her in advance. Just start surprising her every day by doing things that are unexpected, unlooked for, and surprise her with a gift of doing things that you just see that you know need to be done and that she'd enjoy.
Hey, Tom, I have an insight. See, she won't listen to mom telling her directly she's a rebel. But if she hears you telling her, the opposite parent, so this is great for parents who have rebels, and saying, let's be a secret, let's do it to surprise her, let it be kind of this adventure, they will buy that. That is totally up their alley, where they do it all on their own self-will. They're not being dominated and told what to do, but they're partnered with the other parent as they're in cahoots. They're making up this kind of, so this is fantastic. We're going to replicate this for the next 5 years in her life.
We have been praying for this young lady and
crying.
for the Lord our God to give us the grace to figure out how to parent her well. And you stumbled upon that book that we mentioned in the last program.
And we've just scratched the surface on that book,
Yeah.
because now I've actually read it, and it is so great for building habits. The book is called, I think I mentioned last week, Better Than Before, and it's Mastering the Habits of Everyday Life, and it's by Gretchen Rubin. And the great thing about this book is it just really opens up family systems and how kids are motivated, and what creates systems in your home just to help it run smoother.
So, and one of the 4 types or temperaments is the rebel.
We should actually just get into this. Some incentives, Tom. I
Yes,
just want to
please.
mention these quickly. We've done the tickets where you earn so many tickets and you get to go out with dad, you get to go out with mom, you get to stay up
And
late.
what does that look like? Ticket.
Well, we don't do this anymore because it's a lot of work. You have to track all their actions, and it's just a time-consuming thing. And we really just dumped anything that takes a lot of time and effort. It's great if you have younger kids, if you have a smaller family. family.
And Kari, what you're saying is sometimes parents who are trying to figure out how to incentivize their kids, they'll go online, they'll look at parenting resources or books.
They can do that, yes.
And what happens is sometimes you have these ideal systems that are incredibly complicated.
Oh, yes.
And
like just before the show, I went over one. I looked at one, and it's like they had one child. It's like, this is great if you have a small family. You can do these tickets where you earn 35 tickets. You get to go out to a movie with dad, and you get like 2 tickets for unloading, 1 ticket for taking the dog out for a walk, 5 tickets for cleaning up and vacuuming the down, that kind of thing. So it's all based on.
Right. So find an incentive method that's suitable to your family situation, the age and stage.
But that's not what we do.
The tickets is not what we do. We tried it.
Well, we did it.
We
a couple
tried it
different
means Kari tried it.
And you can bring it back with 1 or 2 kids. Like I have 2 little ones at home. It's great for them.
So incentivizing system that we're using right now.
Yes. Well, let's just say a reward system. We do allowance in our home, and we love it. It's our home economy where our kids are not given like money to buy birthday presents. They're not given money to buy birthday presents.
Yeah, most people think of an allowance as you're going to get so much per week.
On top of everything that mom and dad buy. So I just interrupt you. Okay. You see, I'm like.
Well, I think, this concept of a home, we don't even use the term allowance. We use the term home economy. And I like that because it breaks the concept of people think of an allowance as, okay, you're going to get $1 or you're going to get $2 every week and you just do these things. But no, you give like a lot of money in these checkbooks. Kids get checkbooks and they've got charts. And
we're not going to get into our home economy now, Tom, but basically we give our kids $1 for those 12-minute jobs that they do around the house. Plus they also get paid to, if the child wants to read more and they're not reading, well, we want the child to read more, we will pay them $1 to 15 minutes of reading. It's 15-minute increments, more or less. And they get, we even pay them to have all their stuff ready and to go out the door for a particular sport that they're not really geared up and wanting to do. But we kind of like say, you need to get running or you need to get playing soccer, whatever it is. They love it eventually. But we're just trying to create positive energy going in the right direction as best we can. And so they get about $25 a week if they do all these things, and most kids will do about $16 a week. But if I ask them to do a chore more than 2 times, they don't get the $1, but they still have to do the chore. The money is for teaching them. Okay, they typically spend their money on junk food and on presents for each other, or they pay each other to do each other's chores. Like, I don't want to unload. Will you unload for me? I'll give you one of the dollars out of my checkbook. We don't buy school lunches for them, but if they want that special lunch, they pay for it with their own money. If they want those cool shoes, it's their own money. If they want toys, it's their own money. So it's all based on them earning it and them deciding how they want to spend it. And then they give a portion to the tithing, and then they have to save some. And so it's just, like I said, it's a bigger program or a different program, but that is one incentive, and it works great for 2 or 3 kids. Not all kids are motivated by money. They don't really care. They don't need money. They're like, everything's taken care of for me. So some of the rewards that we'll use that are great, we really create a home ritual. We are doing a movie night next Friday. If you are able to, complete your chores and track your chores and you do a good job, you can have up to 3 kids come from your class. And what that allows is, I get to have friends over. Yay, we're going to play. Yay. And then it's just a fun, fresh way to be incentivized to do what they need to do. Or it might be someone really, the older kids, as they get older, they really want to go to a friend's house. They really want to go out. And it's like, well, you get to go for the full amount of time. But if you give us grief, if your room is messy, well, if their room's messy, they don't leave the house. That's basically it. If they want to go somewhere and their room's a mess, they don't get to go. But if they want to go to a friend's house, and I've asked them 2 times to clean their room, I'll just say, now you've lost 15 minutes of that time where they're supposed to meet up at 6. And there's a set time. And then they still don't do it, and I have to remind them again, you've lost another 15 minutes. And then it just goes up to half hours. And we basically take time away from something they want to do.
Okay, so what you just said, so using time, that is a type of punishment that I think, again, it's not a typical thing. I don't know how common that is, but I never had that happen to me growing up. I've never even really heard of it. Not that I study a lot of these things, but I think it's brilliant because kids feel it. Our kids, they actually...
That are very social. They really want to be with their friends.
Right? They
feel
really
that loss.
desire, if they want to be able to get out of the house and be with their friends.
Get out of the house.
Well, if they want to be able to get out and get, there's that sense of breaking free and all that. that, and we want them to be able to, get free. So
Yes. And then the simple incentives, they don't have to be fancy. It can be candy, like little Jolly Ranchers or a lollipop. It's amazing what my 5 and 3-year-old will do for a 10-cent lollipop in the morning or throughout the day. And it just is this little hook. And it's not like we give them candy all the time to do chores, but every now and then you just can use that. I mean, it is a fantastic, most easy way to incentivize your kids. And yes, we give our kids sugar. We agree. Or desserts are great ways.
This is called Moses' activity.
This
right?
is giving
Pharaoh
them.
was the slave driver. Moses is the one who says, I'm going to lead you from slavery to freedom. And again, it's the Augustine principle of let me attach a good that you see to a good that you don't see.
Yes.
So it is a good for you to be industrious and do a chore and participate. But if you don't get it, well, you do get the idea of getting a lollipop.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, they're doing that activity they didn't want to do because they got the lollipop.
And then after you clean that bedroom with them, or after we clean the house, it is really important to sit down and to capture that moment. Say, guys, doesn't it feel great that the house is clean? Doesn't it feel good to come into this environment? How do you feel now that your room has been all vacuumed, all the counter spaces are cleared off, everything's put away? And there is this way in which you help them reflect on that sense of order, cleanliness, decluttering, and it starts to seep in them. It starts to become part of who they are. They realize the good in it. I don't think we realize that when we are amidst clutter, we are amidst messiness, how awesome it is, and feeling a sense of empowerment.
They're breathing.
It's just great.
Yes.
And then lastly, Tom, with the reward system, a party or a family event. If you want kids to get on board, you say we are having 2 families over for the Seahawk game, or we're having 2 families over for, an Advent dinner or a fish fry dinner, some kind of, every now and then we will gather a couple of families. And all the kids know this. It's been on our calendar for the week. It's been in part of our family meeting. And they all know that we are spending the next 2 hours cleaning the house, getting it ready. And there's just a real excitement in the air. Typically, everyone's on board. They want to be a part of it. There's joy. There's this fresh feeling of party, celebration. It's a powerful, easy way to build a work ritual of getting together and being together and hosting something at your house. And that could be, again, a whole nother lesson teaching on this.
So what Kari just said was a great way to get your house clean is to throw a party. Okay,
I said I always am jealous whenever I go to someone's house and they've had a party. It's like, wow, I bet you their house now is, it is. Their house is now really clean. And it's great.
But that's, Kari, that's until the party happens.
Yeah.
And then it gets all messy again. And then who cleans up after everybody goes? I'm going to kind of put it out there.
Does clean up quite a bit. It's taking down tables and chairs. But
no, what you're saying, Kari, and this is so important again, is that before virtue will be its own reward, virtue needs other rewards to associate with it.
yes.
And so we want our kids to be industrious, and we've spent 2 programs on that. And this virtue of industry that we're focused on in October, again, has 3 dimensions. It's about the self. And being industrious is a path to self-mastery. So doing chores, even chores with incentives, are going to help foster in a child self-mastery, the ability to say, I'm going to master those passions and desires that are pulling me away from what is truly good for me to do right now, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to be able to press through the things that I resist within me. The second is my relationship to others, not only self-mastery, but self-donation, where I'm going to give myself out of love as a gift towards others. And so I see how my doing this chore alongside my brothers and sisters, or for the sake of my brothers and sisters, or for the sake of the family, is a good thing. And so the willingness to give of myself, to die to myself in love, is also a great blessing. And then lastly is in our relationship to God. We are extending ourselves, and we extend ourselves towards God. That's called magnanimity. That's doing something great with our lives before God. All of that in a chore.
Hallelujah.
Isn't
you
that
can really
beautiful?
break that open. Yes.
So
That's awesome.
that's the program for today, Kari. Isn't this wonderful? Do you have any final comments you have before we take off?
We're going to talk about Halloween and spiritual warfare next week.
Next week, yes. And we have an upcoming webinar on November the 4th. We don't want you to miss it. It's on parenting in the digital age. How do you raise your kids to be safe while using the internet? We'll talk more about that later on. God bless you.